Yes.
It's going to be interesting.
So Kevin, no gavel.
Yeah, you guys are good to go.
All right. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise if you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic
and to
for
the
which it
republic
stands,
for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty and justice for
and
all.
justice for all. All right. Madam Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Here.
Councilman Iacilli. Absent.
He's excused today.
Councilman Pell.
Present.
Councilman Martell.
Here.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad to be able to join you all today. As you know, I had the hip replacement surgery last weekend, and glad to say I've graduated from a walker to a cane. So things are looking up. So, all right, let's get started. We'll do the agenda review and then get started with our presentations. There's going to be 2 public hearings. The first will be to consider amending Chapter 312-11B to authorize additional stop signs on Noyak Road at the intersection of Long Beach Road and Stony Hill Road. And then the second public hearing will be to amend Town Code Chapter 312, Section 312-97, entitled Speed Limits within Community Planning Areas, subsection H, entitled Noyak Unincorporated Sag Harbor.
All right.
Okay.
Town Board
Great.
Resolution 732 of 2025, co-sponsor by Supervisor Moore. Resolution adopting Town Code Amendment repealing Section 330-162.21 entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems in excess of 600 kilowatt hours.
There'll just be one amendment in that on the notice of adoption to reflect that it will be adopted June 10th at your meeting at 1 p.m.
Okay.
Town Board Resolution 733 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore. Resolution adopting an amendment of Town Code Section 330-33 Business District U tables will be withdrawn, and there is a substitute later in the packet. Town Board Resolution 734 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore. Resolution adopting amendments to Town Code Section 330-37 entitled Industrial Districts Table of Use Regulations as it relates to battery energy storage systems.
And that will also have an amendment to the notice of adoption to reflect that it will be adopted on June 10th at 1 p.m.
All right, Town Board Resolution 2025-735, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to assume lead agency for the purpose of seeker review and to adopt a negative declaration in connection with the Town of Southampton Code Chapter 330 amendment for the creation of a new Article 33 entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems.
Town Board Resolution 736 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore. Resolution of adoption amending Southampton Town Code Chapter 330 zoning by adding a new Article 33 entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems. This will be withdrawn.
And there is a substitution. Page 86.
Okay. Town Board Resolution 2025-737, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, resolution of adoption of amendments to Town Chapter 123 Building Construction, subsection 123-39.3, entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems.
And that also has an amendment in the notice of adoption to reflect that it'll be adopted on June 10th at 1 p.m.
Town Board Resolution 738 of 2025, co-sponsor Supervisor Moore. Resolution of adoption amending Chapter 330 zoning, subsection 330-76, entitled Placement of Accessory Building Structures and Uses in All Districts.
Also has the same amendment in the notice of adoption, Kim.
So Christine, when these appear on the next, for the meeting on Tuesday, they'll have the correct adoption dates and we'll be able to go forward and adopt them all?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Town Board Resolution 2025-739.
Because they're
Sorry.
Co-sponsored.
tabled, that has to be amended on the floor. It's my understanding because they're tabled.
Didn't we just do that?
No, they're tabled to an effort, so you can't change them until the next meeting that they're tabled to be amended on.
Right.
Like, they're not in
Okay,
draft
all
form.
right, all right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So we'll have to do it at the
We'll
meeting.
do it at the meeting.
All
I
right,
don't
but
know
we
if you
can
could do
adopt
a
everything at the
blanket.
next
I
meeting.
don't know.
I think you can do a
thought.
blanket one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good. The Town Board Resolution 2025-739, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to a resolution of adoption amending Town Code Chapter 157, Type 1 actions to add a new subsection 8 as it relates to battery energy storage systems with a capacity of 600 kilowatts up to a maximum of 5 megawatts.
That has the same change. Town Board Resolution 740 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore. Resolution of adoption amending Town Code Chapter 330 zoning, subsection 330-10, as it relates to residential use tables. And that will have the same change in the notice of adoption.
On 2025-741, I'm going to withdraw this.
Page cut out of order. Okay. Town Board Resolution ID number 50067 to authorize purchases of aftermarket vehicle parts for Genuine Parts Company doing business as Napa Auto Parts using a Sourcewell contract. Town Board Resolution ID number 50042, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize purchases of electrical services from All Service Electric, Inc. using the Eastern Suffolk BOCES contract. Town Board Resolution ID number 50021 to authorize purchases of intelligent facility and security systems and solutions from New York State contract.
Town Board Resolution ID 50011, authorize purchases of storage containers and office trailers from Casone Leasing, Inc., using Suffolk County contract.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50094, co-sponsored with Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with BEI Holdings, Inc. for maintenance coverage for the digital voice recording system utilized in the 911 dispatch center of the police department.
Town Board Resolution 50102, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, authorize supervisor to sign a contract with L.K. McLean Association and Engineer and Survey DPC for professional engineer design and service for Bay Drive Bulkhead Phase 2. Town Board Resolution 592, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, authorize supervisor to sign contract with L.K. McLean Associate Engineer and Survey DPC to provide construction, administration, and inspection service for Bay Avenue East Shoreline Stabilization. Town Board Resolution 577, authorize supervisor to sign a no-cost contract extended with L.K. McLean Associate Engineer and Survey DPC for professional engineer service for Yacht Club Drive, Evansville bulkhead replacement.
Town Board Resolution 50089, sponsored by Councilman Iacilli, co-sponsored by Supervisor Moore. Authorize supervisor to sign an agreement with Suffolk County for the distribution of STOA funds for the operation of the South Fork Commuter Connection Bus Service.
Town Board Resolution ID 50126, authorize the purchase of a 6-passenger low-floor van with ramp for New York State OGS contract with Matthews Bus Alliance, Inc., doing business as Matthews Buses Commercial. Town Board Resolution ID 50114, co-sponsor with Supervisor Moore, authorize the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Long Island Electric Utility Services, Long Island Electric Utility Servco LLC as agent for and on behalf of the Long Island Lighting Company, doing business as LIPA, for energy parking at Red Creek Park. Town Board Resolution ID 50096, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore, authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents with Quan Software Engineering Incorporated, doing business as VeryPick Inc., to renew the license maintenance agreement for VeryPick software. Town Board Resolution ID 50097, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension with LMJENT LLC, doing business as the Sandcastle Cafe for Tiana Beach concession for the 2025 summer season.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50124. Authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Advanced Wastewater Services, Inc. for the Town Hall Sanitary System Inspection Service visits.
Town Board Resolution 50112, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Ladus Associate Inc. for 30 Club Lane Maintenance Garage.
Town Board Resolution ID number 49307 to award and authorize the purchase of one 2025 Ford F-150 XL Super Crew from Schultz Ford Lincoln Inc. using the New York State OGS contract for vehicles class 1-8 statewide.
Town Board Resolution 50078, sponsored by Councilman Iacilli and Councilman Martell. Recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2025-205, authorizing the supervisor to execute 2025 Youth Bureau agreements with Youth Bureau programming consultants.
Town Board Resolution 50113, co-sponsored with Councilman Wayne McMahon. Recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2025-620, authorize funding for Baconic Expert partnership with the 2025 Community Preservation Fund Water Quality Monies, create a capital account for quality water project from portion of the 2025 award.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50076 to recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2024-445, authorize the supervisor to execute an extended agreement with L.K. McLean Associates Engineering and Surveying, DPC, as it relates to professional services for the Fire Island Inlet to Montauk Point project.
Town Board Resolution 50110, reject all bids for the Mercury Marine engine.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50098, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a retainer for legal services performed.
Town Board Resolution 49947, memorize resolution for the highway superintendent to stop snow removal service for areas outside the Southampton Town highway system when the town has not contracted for snow removal in such areas. Town Board Resolution 49948, amend the 2025 adopted budget for the highway department for snow removal expense.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50079 to amend the 2025 budget for various departments. Town Board Resolution ID number 50058 to amend the 2025-2029 capital budget and add capital project Tiana and Sandbar storm recovery. Town Board Resolution ID number 50041, the Hampton Bays Volunteer Ambulance Corps Service Award Program.
Can I be added to that, please?
Myself too. But just check with Michael, he might be wanting to do that too.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50091 to recall and rescind Town Board Resolution number 2025-660. So does this mean that we already did the resolution and said where the money should be coming from so that the one we did in May didn't need to be done? Is that what we're saying? Because it doesn't say recall and amend, it's just recall and rescind.
It looks like it's a different funding source that it should have come from.
Okay. All right. Would you just check to make sure there doesn't have to be another sentence in there for something?
I will.
All right. Town Board Resolution ID number 50120 to accept the resignation of Zeb Youngman from the Conservation Board. Town Board Resolution ID number 50001, to authorize the town attorney to accept a settlement from Progressive Insurance for damage to a town light pole and fence as a result of an accident which occurred on November 27, 2024. Town Board Resolution ID number 50065, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara. A resolution adopting an amendment to the Town Code Section 330-33 Business District Table of Uses.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50066, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore. Resolution of adoption adding new Article 33 entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems.
Can you get me to that, please?
Yes.
Does that have the right date on it, Christine? Both of those?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
103.
I'll check all the pages. Town Board Resolution 49961, co-sponsored with Councilman Isola. Resolution to adopt and amend Chapter 312-11 to authorize addition stop signs on Noyak Road at the intersection of Long Beach Road and Stony Hill Road. Town Board Resolution.
Is this, wait, is that following, we're having a public hearing on that and adopting it? Okay. And I guess, I would hope Charlie or somebody's gonna be there
I've
to
asked for somebody
talk
from
about it.
Highways to
Yes.
present.
Oh, good, thanks.
Town Board Resolution 534, resolution to adopt and amend Town Code, Chapter 312, Vehicle Traffic, Section 312-97, entitled Vehicle and Traffic, subsection H, entitled Noyak Unicorporate Sag Harbor, to provide a uniform speed limit of 30 miles for the full length of Noyak Road in both directions.
Town Board Resolution ID 50017, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli, authorization of cost reimbursement for the Hampton Bays High School Class of 2025 Commencement Parade, held on June 23rd, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Please add me to that one.
Add me two,
I
please.
do want to say that that is the over-the-bridge parade, and they did get the authorization from the county to have it.
Oh, good.
I guess the graduates don't exceed the weight limit. Town Board Resolution ID 50123, authorize waiver of Parks and Recreational Facility use fee for Hampton Bays High School Class of 2025 Commencement Parade. Town Board Resolution ID 50013, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli, authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for Blaze Church Hope Day 2025 that was held on June 7th, 2025. Town Board Resolution ID 50105, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli, authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the Long Island Abate Veterans Appreciation Ride, which was held on June 8th, 2025.
Town Board Resolution ID number 49986, to authorize the Peconic Bay Region Community Preservation Fund tax refund pursuant to the first-time homebuyers exemption for Henry A. Melendez Molina and Isabel B. Aravalo Melendez.
Could you add me that too, Kim,
Town
please?
Board Resolution ID 50081, authorize waiver of Parks and Recreation Facility use fees for Sagaponic School's annual Sag Main Beach Day. Town Board Resolution ID 50090, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli, cost reimbursement waiver for East Quogue Village Green Summer Concert Series to be held Tuesday nights from July 1st to July 22nd, 2025, with rain date of July 29th, 2025.
I could be added to that and the next one also.
Myself too, please.
Town Board Resolution ID 50080, authorize waiver of Parks and Recreation Facility use fees for the East Quogue Chamber of Commerce 2025 Summer Concert Series.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50088, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, which is a resolution releasing the performance bond in connection with the map of Spring Farm situated in Sag Harbor and accepting the Clay Pit Road into the town's highway system. Town Board Resolution ID number 50103, to appoint Maria Espinale to Senior Police Officer Aide position from the Civil Service list. Town Board Resolution ID number 50083 to appoint Renee Klager to Sanitation Helper in Waste Management. Town Board Resolution ID number 50082 to rescind Resolution 2025-763, appointment of a sanitation helper.
Town Board Resolution ID 50022, sponsored by Councilman Iacilli, co-sponsored by Supervisor Moore. Notice of public hearing to consider enactment of planting restriction for front and side yards 5 feet from property line.
This is something that, constituents have come to Michael and I both asking for, and we did talk about it at a work session, and then it got tabled, and Sean Cambridge has been working on it with Michael. Similarly, there's another one to follow about tree clearing. So we just thought we might as well have the public hearing and get some input and decide one way or the other what we're going to do with it.
Town Board Resolution ID 50051, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore. Resolution setting a public hearing to accept an open space parcel in connection with the planned residential development cluster plan for subdivision map known as Noyak Northview LLC in the hamlet of Noyak. Town Board Resolution ID 50121, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell. Notice the public hearing to consider the acquisition of a grant of historic preservation and conservation easement and grant of restrictive use easement and accompanying public access and benefit agreement on the property located at 76 Main Street, West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, Inc., Village of West Hampton Beach, and to amend the CPF project plan and CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Deputy Clerk, would you please add me to that resolution?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Town Board Resolution ID 50047, sponsored by Councilman Iacilli. Notice of public hearing to enact Chapter 233 entitled Tree Preservation.
Town Board Resolution 4866. Public hearing to amend Town Code, Chapter 312, entitled Vehicle and Traffic.
Town Board Resolution ID 50050, co-sponsor Supervisor Moore. Resolution of adoption of an agricultural easement in connection with the approved subdivision map known as Kamikutico LLC, located in Waterloo. Right?
Hey, Bill, do you know this one about the Shinnecock Hills? Was that something that the Highway Department recommended, or do you know where it's coming from?
We saw it before, right?
Yeah,
It went away and now it's back?
back, yeah.
Okay.
I thought we were trying to figure out if that was already covered by the no parking overnight stuff.
It's
Not late enough.
It's not covered by it, so that's why we're doing it.
And it was for a while
Okay.
ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago. The neighbors was complaining.
All right, good. Well, that was good. That was fast. Now we're ready, right on time, to move on to our first presentation.
See
We've
them
got,
outside. Standing at the door.
is everybody present? I can't see who's in the audience.
No, they're standing at the door. I'm just
Okay.
gonna go get them.
Kathleen is here.
Is Jim coming in? We have no exec, so.
No, he's coming in.
Yay, Kathleen.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Good morning.
They all want to come up?
Don't be shy, come on up.
Yeah, we get another chair.
Yeah, come sit with me.
How many we have over
You
there?
and Christian. Yeah.
Christian is there are more chairs up
There
there.
they are, right on cue. They're presenting, yeah.
It's a good thing I didn't wear that dress.
You can sit up here.
Okay, oh yeah, we have, well, they're presenting, so. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Christine brought
Emotional support.
the lab. What emotional
Yes.
support.
Goes,
So I guess, oh, that would be great, thank you.
Christian, you gotta plug it in over at the desk.
Okay, hello, there we go.
Get Andrew. He did. He did. Janice, they cleared this. We talked to Andrew and we got it all. He knows it's coming. Andrew knows it's coming.
Okay.
Andrew,
Where is it? Is it on the desktop?
it's on his laptop and he's going to plug in an HDMI cable. That's what he was told to do by Andrew. They called earlier this week to ask. Christine, just in case you wanted a paper copy.
Yep, he's got an excused absence today.
His excuse,
He's got another meeting.
he's at the pep.
So everybody make sure, wave to Maria out there.
Hey. Thanks for coming in, everybody. We're very interested to hear what you all have to say, Kathleen, especially about establishing the East Quogue Park District. And welcome, Donna. And I can't
much.
tell who else is there. Why don't you introduce yourselves? I'm fine. I'm getting there. Thanks.
Good, good. Ed had it.
I said before I graduated to a cane, so I'm off the walker. So that feels good.
Awesome, awesome.
We wanted Andrew to move the TV here, but Andrew said, I don't think he could do it.
That would have been a little weird, futuristic.
Yes.
Just setting up the computer real quick, Marie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, whenever you're ready, introduce yourselves and
Sure.
let us hear about what we need to know.
It's gonna be behind us? Oh, gee. I've seen it already.
You've seen it in We brought a PC instead of a Mac because we thought so.
Yeah,
That's
because I
why
was a
I'm
little
not
worried.
knowledgeable.
Yeah, great, great.
Bless you.
Okay, so I start? So I'll introduce myself. I'm Marissa Bridge. I'm the president of the East Quogue Civic Association and the Beautification Committee.
Oh, I'm Chris Starr. I don't know. I'm Chris Connolly. I'm just a citizen
Yeah, Christine, we need him. Do you need to sit next to him?
working on the park district with everybody here.
Not just a citizen.
So your phone dropped out of your pocket?
He's a
I'm
mess.
a hot mess. I always am. I
I'm
live my whole
Christine
life.
Grant. I've also been assisting with the Parks District.
And you're the secretary of the CAC.
I'm also the secretary of the CAC and Chris's wife.
Get it all out there.
Good morning, Deputy Town Attorney Kathleen Murray.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Vallone. I serve on the board of the East Quogue Civic Association and Beautification Committee, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Zambetti, Chair of the East Quogue CAC.
Great. Okay, so we're just going to launch into this presentation. We've given this presentation several times to a meeting of the Civic Association as well as a broader community meeting, just to really have residents understand what's being proposed. So let me just give you a little bit of background about what we've been sort of dealing with. Over the decades, efforts to beautify the town have really largely been the result of donations through the East Quogue Beautification Committee, which is a 501c3. And then, of course, we've gotten ad hoc funds from the town of Southampton, and we've also relied on volunteer efforts. Now, over the year, we had a large donor that many years ago donated a substantial sum, but unfortunately now it's just whittled down, and we have very limited funds. We also face this issue of lack of consistent maintenance of anything that's being done. So lack of watering, lack of pruning the trees, and also we have a problem with the tree wells. And it's all resulted in a sort of hodgepodge of plantings that have either not survived or not doing well. And so we really, and also we have the Village Green, which is the park on Lewis Road, which is a beautiful park, but it too suffers from lack of upgrading and lack of maintenance. And we realized that the town of Southampton, they do what they can. It's just not enough. And I think you'll agree that some of the other hamlets, they've opted for this park district issue as a way to really beautify our area. So let me just give you a little bit of an example of what we're sort of facing. Here are some of the trees, and these line the Main Street area of East Quogue. And you can see it's just not being taken care of, and the trees kind of wither. And whenever we do actually install baskets, particularly, this issue of watering is just a consistent problem. And I just sort of want to highlight the fact that we have been soliciting input from the community, which is so important, because we really wanted to know what the opinion of our residents were to levy a tax to actually beautify the community. So we've been brainstorming in a smaller meeting with the key community groups of East Quogue, which includes the Civic Beautification Committee, the CAC, the Historical Society, as well as just bringing together residents on an ad hoc basis in informal settings. Chris has been key to this because he interacts with many of our key community residents. And overall, I would say, and I think some of you would agree, that we've had a very positive response to this proposal. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris because he's a landscaper by trade. He really understands sort of many of the proposed improvements and can really speak very eloquently from an expert perspective on how this actually can improve our community.
Those are kind. I'll let you change it because
Okay.
that's not my expertise. So, and I'm also not much of a public speaker, so bear with me with this. But what we did is when we all met these small groups to try to get an idea of what the park district should be about and what we see in our community either lacking or could be improved. As Donna mentioned, some of the key points were our Main Street. We believe that Main Street is the hub of your community, making it more pedestrian friendly with additional trees, making larger permeable areas by removing concrete, adding seasonal plantings, replacing the trees that are dying or at the end of their life based upon their growth rates, and also replacing trees that were incorrectly planted. 30, 40 years ago, trees like pear trees were very appropriate or thought to be appropriate to use, but they have a finite lifespan. They fall apart. In Westhampton Beach, when they redid their Main Street, they saw all of these things occur and they made the decisions to correct them. So Area 1 is the Main Street. During a multi-year period of time, we hope to replace 6 to 8 trees a year. Increasing the permeable area by removing concrete, doing additional plantings in that area, and also being able to fund and maintain the baskets and the urns, which would also take some burden off the town board because they're currently paid via grants, so that money would be transferred to the taxable area. Another major hub of the community is the post office. And our post office happens to be really wonderfully landscaped right now. It's been a labor of love. Interestingly enough, my mom did a lot of this planting 45 years ago. She maintained the annuals and perennials. And now people like Ora Salmaggi and Joe Sadger maintain it via the East Quogue Beautification Committee. And it's probably the most nicely landscaped and maintained area. The plants, though, are reaching max.
Can I pause you for 1 second? I just want to make because it was mentioned that you're a landscaper and Chris owns Aspetuck Gardens. Chris isn't doing this to get any additional work for himself. Chris currently volunteers and does as just a resident the Welcome to East Quogue signs. There's 3 of them. And that's kind of how I roped him into East Quogue a few years ago. Like, Can we make these signs like all look the same and just plant them with perennials? But he took it one step forward and he actually does annual plantings seasonally and does them and maintains them and waters them. And he will continue to do that as a volunteer. He's not looking to get paid for that. So I just wanted to
Yeah,
put
and
that
that's
out there.
one of the things that we have our community group meetings. We really want to impress upon people that I'm happy to advise and give my opinion and do design work for free. But I don't ever want people to think there's some sort of conflict of interest. I'm primarily motivated because I want to do good for the community, and I feel like this is one of the ways that I can do it since it's my my area of expertise. So so the post office is one thing. You guys know Bay Avenue. Bay Avenue is a great area. The trustees maintained that dock for many years. Now we have a large space there and a newly additional space through the CPF funds. We love it. The beautification committee maintains a garden there. We'd like to have funds to maintain that garden. And then also because I personally believe that the expanding sustainability, educating the next generation about the environment is very important to me. So we would like to possibly introduce new teaching gardens, probably at Lewis Road, because I'm informed that Bay Avenue, due to maybe CPF money, is not an area that we could add gardens, but maybe to Lewis Road, possibly a water garden, another native garden, pollinator garden, really educating people about how they can landscape sustainably. And speaking about the Village Green is wonderful. We are so lucky to have it. I remember when I was a kid in East Quogue, there were just junk cars there, and it was I probably rode my bike in there and played around. And now we have what is truly a premier green space right in the heart of our community. It's big. It has so much support from when it was initially built, but we're now at that point where a lot of things have to be redone. So, for instance, this is just my next picture here. These are the current benches at Lewis Road. I just picked the one closest to the flagpole, and some are worse. You know, to have a welcoming green space, you need to have areas where people can do things, whether it's sit or it's, you know, to spend time on the maintained green. Replacing these benches, also because they're probably a bit of a liability at that point, is important. So what we're talking about doing for the town.
So were those benches put in by the town, or were they donated by people in the public?
As far as I know, they were all donated by people because they all have plaques on them. I know so many of the initial things at the East Quogue Park were donated. The pavilion, which was, I think it was done in the early 2000s. Some people that we know, the Kellbergs, who have been at a second home here forever, spent a lot of money donating to that. So it's, the joke about Lewis Road Park is there's a plaque on almost everything because many people donated to it. And
There's literally a grouping of daffodils that has a plaque from the Boy Scouts.
it is so many plaques. You could do a walking tour of them. And it's getting another one. And it's getting another one. But that actually touches upon another important thing here. It's as time progresses, we've seen with the community that it's the same group of people that are willing to donate or give time or money or effort, and you can only go to that well so many times. So this is a way to kind of level the playing field and then also make the people who live in East Quogue feel like they have an interest in it, like they've worked together for it, they have a stake in it. And I think that idea too is a good idea for the community. So benches are something that we'd like to replace. I do have a budget that we could go over another point, but I'll just go over the high points here. Our flagpole, our East Quogue flagpole is, this is what it looks like now, and it's a mess. So because the corner of Montauk Highway and Lewis Road is one of the most highly trafficked areas of our town, the idea to do seasonal plantings that are visible from the road and are just a highlight, I think will add to the charm of the community. It will increase civic pride. And when people attend the concerts and things like that, they'll be able to really enjoy this seasonal planting area. And I will just say this for a down the road, our holiday tree, we'd love to replace our seasonal tree, just because, again, it was probably very nice when it was planted, I would guess about 28, 30 years ago, but it's just not anymore. So this isn't even a part of our budget, but
I know that was donated also many years ago.
Yeah. So Village Green improvements, the Bay Avenue Garden, Main Street, and also increasing our seasonal decorations. We love, when we talked about park districts, we looked at all three of them. We reached out to people in those park districts. Everybody had great things to say. The Hampton Bays Park District gave us a lot of information on where their money is spent, how it's spent, and we'd like to try to emulate them in ways like being able to add more flowers, more annuals. The Holiday decorations, I don't think are funded by the park district now for them, but it, could open the door. And we love the lights that are on all of those flagpoles off of Montauk Highway there in Hampton Bays. And yeah, so we've met with a number of people. We've looked over all of these things. To get to the numbers that we have thought of here, we try to first work with all of the different community groups, and many of them are represented here, to come up with what the most important things were for them to improve and maintain. And then we kind of backtracked on our work and then thought to ourselves, what would an average family in East Quogue, what would they say would be an acceptable amount to be taxed for something like that? So we tried to be mindful. We researched the median price of homes in East Quogue, the median assessed rate, and we figured $20 to $21 for the average assessed home is a fair amount, something that won't affect too many people, but also enough that they can feel like their contribution to their hamlet was meaningful. And yeah, I guess that would be the broad strokes of what we'd like to do.
So the total budget is $75,000.
$75,000 per year, which means we've got maintenance as well as capital expenditures. A lot of these projects are expensive, so we want to spread the cost over a number of years. In my industry too, I've learned that one of the best things we can get is knowledge from history. So basically, if we replace 3 trees on Main Street and they're doing well, we know that we can use those trees again and expand on them. And if they don't do well, we can pivot. So the amount of time, spreading it out over time, is actually advantageous for us. So yeah, we're at 75,000. Approximately 48,000 is projects that would be capital expenditures, and the other 22 would be things like watering, maintenance, and also funding the holiday decorations.
And just let me add, this uses the school district boundaries that will generate the 75,000. That's the geographic area.
And that was thought of too, to also put the burden as small as possible after speaking with Kathleen about how we could minimize the expense for taxpayers by using an existing boundary, which I believe Hampton Bays actually has done as well. It's less burden. You don't have to draw a new map and pay for that to be done.
Which GIS was able to provide us with that.
One of the other things we should touch upon is we have had multiple community meetings, and we've gotten no real pushback. We have the typical person that, in my opinion, is just anti-government and doesn't trust anybody. We had one of those. And then people that wanted to know what the administrative costs in this project would be, like people who were receiving salaries and things like that. So really, and we immediately extinguished their fears. So it was that was basically the only pushback we've seen. But from everybody we've spoken to, either directly or behind the scenes, has been gung-ho about it.
And that was in 2017. It didn't have the support of all the different groups in East Quogue. It was kind of another controversial thing that came up, but everybody is behind this time. So,
And as president of those 2 organizations, I agree. I've gotten really no pushback. There was the one guy who doesn't believe in taxes, so there's always somebody. but it's been really amazing how everybody's ready to turn a page and come together and get united behind East Quogue. And I think that if the money isn't necessarily coming from the civic or beautification, that's a good thing for some people. I've come to realize, like, just to spread it out, the power, being in our 2 groups, I think is something a lot of people have a problem with. So I think that this kind of spreads it out. It's going to be, the town board is going to spend the money basically through us. There'll be a committee that is advisory from East Quogue, but it's out of like everybody's hands. So in a sense, so that it has broad appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
And sort of as the newbie in the group, I've only lived here 10 years. So, and been involved with the CAC for 2 to 3 years. And I echo what Marissa said. Apparently, years ago, there was a lot of animosity with the groups. And ignorance was bliss because we just jumped in Marissa is a neighbor. We live on the same street. And I think the whole tone has changed. And as Chris mentioned, even just casually bringing it up to people, everybody seems for it. The one dissenter, I happen to know him from other work issues, and he's consistent. So I'll say that for him. But it's welcoming to see. And we haven't had any big, negative reactions to it. And Kathleen, you were at the meeting. I thought, what did you feel from that?
No, I thought there were intelligent questions and concerns, but I think they were all addressed. I think for the most part it was positive.
Great.
So I can talk to the board if you'd like about the legal process going forward. If that's something you want to hear.
Yeah, I just want to start. I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I think you do have to have some skin in the game. So if residents are kicking $25 or $35 into this, I think they feel a little bit better about the process. So I appreciate that. I have a storefront in Hampton Bays, so the pear tree issue is something that I'm well aware of. I've had cars run mine over. I got a replacement. It never grew. Everybody else's look beautiful, and it's so inconsistent up and down the road. So I was curious to what kind of tree you thought you might plant.
So the thought process is there are a lot of good trees. Some trees we talked about are native trees. This is a group that all has different opinions. My opinion stands that I would like trees that flower in the summertime and then also don't get above the power lines, because then you get maintenance issues. What I've seen that I really like, I've seen it in West Hampton Beach and their areas, is crepe myrtles. Crepe myrtles bloom in July and August. They typically will only get 15 feet tall or so, which will stay under power lines. And our native friends in this group, they've probably would like to go with native maples or oaks. So we are in discussions about exactly
But
where
those
to go.
do grow wide,
Yeah.
so there is a
And
maintenance.
that's the issue with that. I personally think that the crepe myrtles would be a good choice, or anything that was relatively narrow and slow growing. Maybe Coosa dogwoods would be another nice one. There's improved Rutgers varieties that stay extremely narrow so they don't break apart over time and bloom in the springtime. But we would be 100% staying against not using the plants that I don't even sell at my store now, which are like pear trees, purple leaf plums, crab apple trees, things like that are just either messy or fall apart. So that's where I stand. I would
Yeah,
like
I
to see
think
crepe
maples and oaks are just too big.
They are. That's really what happens. And they grow into the power lines, and then, PSE&G or the people that they're contracting with, they come out and they have to hack them. And then if you drive down any road and you see that, it makes the trees, even if they're still alive, very unsightly, possibly dangerous for a hurricane or things like that. So by staying relatively low, I think.
And then you have
would
limbs
be,
over the roadway that can become a hazard, and you have them encroaching on business storefronts. Like,
Yeah.
I think I agree that I think it has to be
And the
something.
roots go into the pavement.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Stone Creek Inn has some great plants that have been there now for 35 years or so, including southern magnolias, which are a slow-growing evergreen. That would be another
That's pretty
consideration.
nice. Yeah, that's very nice.
So a lot of the
Chris,
work in
when
Hampton
we
Bays.
design the,
Sorry, go ahead.
everybody turns like little birds. When we designed the Main Street in West Hampton, we used a variety of, some were columnar, some were like vase shaped, mostly, we planted them in between the storefronts so that they didn't block the view of the signs from the road. And, I'll be glad to share what you probably already know what the species are, those
Yeah.
trees that we
Yeah,
planted.
They did a great job there. It was very,
They
very
did.
thoughtful that the Main Street in West Hampton Beach. And even though we're on a much smaller scale, we hope to expand that. One of the key things that I personally love about West Hampton Beach is that the downtown is much more walkable now, and that's due to, of course, slowing traffic with the bumps, but also by having those huge green spaces that separate the road from the sidewalk makes it feel very walkable. And it's interesting, I never noticed that the trees specifically don't block the doors, but they do. That's it's funny how sometimes you don't notice those things about design. But yeah.
Yeah,
so-
we had the opportunity to be that specific since we had ripped the whole thing apart. But I think that this is so important, and I'm really glad that you're looking into doing it. It makes all the difference.
So Kathleen, you want to tell us what the process is going forward?
Sure. So, as this board is familiar, this would be another special improvement district. Just to quickly reiterate, special improvement districts are dictated by New York State town law. There are only certain districts that may be created. A park district is one of them. You're probably most familiar with your beach erosion control districts, since you've been working with those more recently. But as the group has indicated, we have a Hampton Bays Park District, Bridgehampton, and Waterville. So in terms of process, it's the same that you're likely familiar with. It's 3 steps to oversimplify it. The first step is, if this board is so inclined, you would authorize the preparation of a map, plan, and report attendant to the creation of this district, which is a lot of what Chris has talked about in terms of the projects that are foreseen and the goals of the district. Then the second step would be a public hearing. You could have one public hearing or several, depending on the public's input, the questions that are asked. It will identify the boundaries, but most importantly, your public hearing has to identify the overall budget proposed and how that budget would affect individuals from a tax perspective. What exactly is somebody going to be paying if this were approved? To the extent that you finish your public hearings, the third step would be a resolution authorizing the creation of this district. That resolution is subject to permissive referendum. So if after that resolution was passed, there was a petition filed by either 100 people or 5% of the people within the district, whichever is less. If they filed a petition saying they wanted to challenge it and they wanted it to go to a full vote, then it would be a full vote, which is called a mandatory referendum, among the people within that district boundary. And as Donna indicated, it would be proposed as the school district boundary. If there is no referendum, that petition has to be filed within 30 days. So if that 30 days comes and goes and there's no referendum, then the district is established. The town board are the commissioners of the district by law. But then you could, if you were so inclined, which we've done with many other districts, you could appoint an advisory committee, which is very often made up of members from beautification and CAC, Civic, all those people that have been important in making this happen, to help advise the board. Chris indicated that we had a meeting at the Civic. It was a positive meeting. I think one thing that from a legal perspective, always like to try to make people understand is that this is now a town, in the event this happened, this is now a town function, it's a town responsibility. So there is some trust that has to be turned over to the town board members at the end of the day. And then I also just like to always reiterate and make sure that everybody understands that once it becomes a town committee or withdrawn a town district, we have to abide by general municipal law, which brings with it prevailing wage rates and bidding requirements. So that does sometimes take a little bit longer than what these groups deal with, having not partnered with the town. But hopefully the benefit outweighs the timing issue.
So what is the next step to get this going?
So if the board is so inclined, the next step would be a resolution for your consideration authorizing the preparation of a map, plan, and report attendant to the creation of this district.
And if everything went well, this would be for 2026 or 2027?
I think 2026. And I don't want to speak for the town comptroller, but if sometimes we can do an interfund loan because the taxes wouldn't be collected until 2026, but there is a legal mechanism where the town is allowed to do an interfund loan to to a special improvement district as long as it's paid back within that same year. So we could discuss that more with the town comptroller, but there is a mechanism there, I believe.
And we do have an evening meeting with the community next Wednesday, so I'd like to get the feedback from that meeting, and then I'll bring it back to you guys and let you know how that went. And it's been publicized now, it's been out, and so, because the other 2 meetings that we had generally was morning meetings on a Saturday. So there's a lot of parents, kids with sports and things going on, so we're having a Wednesday night meeting so that they put it out to the school. I think the school superintendent sent out notices to all the parents that we were having the meeting, so it's been very well publicized, and
And
Seen it on social
we
media.
have
I
a
wanna try
flyer
to make
for
that
it as
meeting.
well. Thank you, Christine.
And for the board members, you do have a handout in front of you. We brought this handout to the presentation that we did at the Civic. And on the last page, you'll see for the proposed budget of $75,000, there is a breakdown as to what that might mean for individuals with properties assessed at $500,000, $750,000, and $1 million, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about.
But it is a finite number, like we're trying to raise 75,000, that's the goal, and
Yes.
if we need or want to increase it every year, is that something that the board does?
Well, like any special, it falls under the town tax cap, so it would be up to the board to either increase or decrease. And like we also said, there's several $1,000s in grant money currently going to East Quogue for the urns and other things that we could, if there was like a one-time expenditure, rather than increasing the park district, we may be able to give them a grant to offset it versus increasing the tax.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because I know a lot of Hampton Bays, the flowers and the decorations all go to the beautification through a grant, and then they spend the money.
Mhm.
They don't necessarily get crushed with the prevailing wage, because I think 75,000 may only replace your park benches the first year, and so on. So there is a mechanism to kind of move money around for that. Okay.
Well, that's a good point, Cindy, that this isn't going to be instead of the grant money. We'd continue to provide the grant funding in addition to the park district tax money.
That's great.
At least until we have, the bulk of the capital projects done, and then, then it's pretty much on to maintenance.
And I think Kathleen answered this question. I just want to bring it up again at our last meeting. But right now, all of this work is done by volunteers. We don't pay anybody. I think the chamber, no one's here today from the chamber, I think they do pay someone to maintain the urns, but everything else, all the gardens, the baskets, everything we maintain. Well, Chris provides the baskets, but and he's been watering them. Last year I watered them. So is that something that we're not allowed to do, or to supplement? Because if you're saying that 75 grand is not really a lot in terms of prevailing wage, is it still possible to volunteer? Because, to kind of.
I believe, yeah, you could still volunteer, you could still accept donations. If somebody wants to buy one of those benches,
Right.
we would just accept a donation.
Okay.
I think we talked about this a little bit at the Civic.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, you can of course still volunteer. We would just ask that somebody be in touch.
We told
with,
one of our members, like, you can't drive your tractor down Main Street and take it for
Yeah.
free,
We
but
have insurance, so I mean, to be clear, it would be through the beautifications insurance.
Like, I'm sure
She
the
will not drive her
beautification-
tractor down.
yeah,
to
I'm
Main
sure the
Street.
beautification will still be like weeding the native plant garden.
Yeah.
And, stuff like that.
We
So
like doing that.
Yeah.
So.
And in regards to the prevailing wage thing, we've Coastal, which I think the owners from Hampton Bays, they've worked with the Hampton Bays Park District, and they just replaced some trees near your store, and they're done correctly. They've got the bladder to keep the trees going well. Coastal, very motivated to be a participant, and then also from an East Quogue native who has a business in West Hampton, who Supervisor Moore, I think, knows, Doug Nappy from Dragonfly, another motivated, community-minded person who, when I told him about the prevailing wage thing and the fact that sometimes, it's a longer pay because of the way, government works, was still like, let's do it, let's go. And then even on social media, just random, smaller owner-operator places, they were like, can we have a chance to bid on it because we have pride in where we live? And it's been wonderful like that. There's been no pushback from anybody in the trade, and most people just want to help. Right. So.
And we also have, I know from years ago when we were trying to get stuff done, we had people that wanted to donate plants and stuff, but they held back and didn't do it because they were like, I'm not going to donate if you're not going to maintain it and it's not going to look nice. Like, now I've got my name on something that's not being maintained. So I think that too, knowing that maintenance there to back up anything that gets done is a big plus for anybody that wants to, put some money into, their home park. So
Great.
So yeah, I think we're good.
Great.
Yeah.
Can I just give a plug for our native plant sale this Saturday, which benefits the East Quogue Beautification Committee this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Bay Avenue Marine Park.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Wait for the next
Thank you,
stop.
Maria.
Goodbye, Maria.
Yes, thank you all for coming in today. Very productive.
Terrific.
Are we looking at you or are we looking away from you if we look up at the screen?
She said she saw you all turn towards the.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
Great, very good. So now did everybody exit? Is it quiet
They're leaving
now?
right now, yes.
Sure.
Bring up the next people.
She said, come on up.
Yeah, so our next presentation is from PSEG regarding their time of day rate plan. Very interesting. So we're going to hear from Bill Falk, the regional manager for Eastern Suffolk, and Brian Kurz, manager special projects.
How are you?
Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good morning. I am Bill Falk. I am the Regional Public Affairs Manager for PSCG Long Island. I cover Brookhaven and the 5 East End towns. Brian Kurtz is our manager. What's your actual title?
Special Projects in the Utility of the Future Project Management Office.
He's our TOD guru. So TOD is time of day use. You might have seen that. We are moving to a time of day billing. So your peak hours and off-peak hours is a way of trying to save everybody money. When demand is less, we could purchase power cheaper. So we try to shift it around a little bit and try to save everybody some money. So Brian's going to give us a presentation.
We got one of those in the mail.
Okay, great. Look forward to hearing more about it. So thank you for having us. This is an exciting. Is there a slide presentation or we just print it?
We have the PowerPoint.
Okay,
So.
just want to know I saw the clicker
Oh,
here.
Janice, do you have it too?
If I should be forwarded, we don't need it up there. Everyone seems to have it.
Okay.
We have it, so we're good.
So thank you for having us to talk about this program. It really is going to impact almost every one of our customers. I'm sure in the end, almost every one of our customers will wind up hearing about it if they're not directly involved. So it's a great, exciting opportunity. But if you want to flip to the first slide. This is a slide that shows the demand curve for last month. Yes, please. That shows the amount of electricity.
Everyone forgets the attorney.
The demand for electricity during each hour in July. This is an average over last July. It's a sample. But what you can see is the need for electricity, when our customers draw electricity, isn't even, right? There are times of the day and times of the year where more electricity is used, and we need to build the systems to and generate enough power through those systems to be able to supply that at the highest point of the year. So that single highest point of the year, we have to have the capacity to be able to provide that electricity.
Actually click through with that right there.
Okay, great, there we go.
There you go.
All right. Two at a time, so look wherever you'd like.
Well, that'll be broadcast with it's easier so people that are watching it
Great.
can see what you're talking about.
Perfect.
I know we've Lynn Arthur from our sustainability group has been advocating to reduce the peak number, as he's saying. Like
Yep. And our costs go up, and I'm working on behalf of LIPA, right? There's no profit motive. The more electricity that's used and the more customers have to pay doesn't increase our profits. So the more we can lower the costs by lowering that peak, not needing to have as much electricity on hand, it benefits all. And those costs are based the power supply portion of that, which is about half the bill, versus the delivery that's cost for us to do the work we need to do and support our customers. That's very heavily influenced by the price of fuel in the market, and more demand equals higher price. You're used to that in a lot of things, right? Demand pricing on lots of things these days, like the Long Island, Railroad and things like that. When there's a lot of people, a lot of demand, not only do we have to have a certain amount on hand, but prices go up during those periods. So why is shifting in the next slide from peak to off-peak important? Because I already just described how we have to supply that, which means we need additional power plants to be on hand, to be able to ramp up as the demand gets higher and higher. That highest period is during the summer, and we very often bring on peaker plants, is what we call them. They're intermittent power plants. They're not running 24/7 like many of our major power plants, and those are high cost to run. They're not as efficient, so they cost more. They use more. They emit more from a carbon standpoint, things like that, and we'd like to reduce the use or eventually eliminate that use. So what does that do? Again, that saves people money. It's better for our environment. And it allows us also to use more renewables during this period, especially solar during the day and during the afternoons where that's active, and take advantage when those are running and operating, and not having to have those extra power plants again on hand. The other thing that people probably don't think as much about is the more demand, the more you're pushing through the wires, especially in a certain location, either the transmission and distribution system will wear out further, or you can exceed its capacity in a very localized area, down at a circuit and or transformer level, especially as we get into more electrification, as more people buy electric vehicles and things. So we have to upgrade that, but if we could keep the demand low so that everybody's not using those high energy appliances and charging their cars during those high peak times where air conditioning is running that we really need, things like that, the better. So
I have a question for you. Going back to your backup power plants, you're not considering any batteries anyway, because I'm not ready for storage batteries.
So
like a best, on your.
So our power supply is diverse, and to have a healthy, resilient system, it is diverse. So we do have battery storage as part of our system. We have solar as part of our system. We have more traditional power plants fueled by, natural fuels, gas and oil. And then we sometimes import power from off island, and sometimes we export power from off island. So there's a variety of ways that we secure and are able to meet that demand for our customers.
The batteries, solar, all those projects that are out there are not are not PSCG or like projects. They're all third party.
Yeah, I realize that, but I also know that some of your property you own, you could put battery storage on them, and I'm not ready for that. I like solar, I like wind power, but when it comes to store the battery storage, I think it's not time yet, and because we haven't got a cap on that. That's what I really would like to know. If that's in your plan for the future.
There are a couple, I guess it's only one property, the Shoreham property, that they're considering batteries at. That's owned by.
There's nothing in consideration in Southampton town.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, because you do own a couple of properties in Southampton.
Yeah, there's nothing, They did an RFP a couple years ago.
And when we did ask about that, the space that they had, at the time, they were keeping that space for expansion of the actual
Substation.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just like to hear that again, so people who access,
Yeah, so the substation properties and properties that are out there are all, for now and in the foreseeable future, are all for substation expansion. We're actually looking for additional properties for additional expansions and stuff like that too. It's all for making the facilities big enough for battery.
Yeah.
So right now, you only have the capacity that you have, hence the time of day to try to get down the usage during the peak.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
It's a balanced portfolio of things that you'll need, and time of day rates are one of those tools in that portfolio of things that we can do to control demand and benefit from our renewable resources. Battery storage is a New York State clean energy goal. Mm-hmm. It's part of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. We have goals that help support that. Right now, as Bill said, those are through third parties that are looking at the proper places where they are constrained that would benefit from a battery, but not on our properties at this time.
That's what we would like to hear.
Yeah, and some of the projects, the bigger ones, are at the ISO level, independent system operator level. So there's whole various ways of things get tied into the system.
That would be a whole nother presentation.
Yeah, for a whole other person.
It's not my expertise. I'm familiar with it as
ask.
But you know,
People are wondering.
if you'd like at some point to someone with the battery storage,
Power markets folks.
power market
Yeah.
folks, exactly, talk more about what your questions you're asking as a whole,
Yeah.
including battery storage. We can
People-
Doesn't mean it is something people are concerned about, so.
The state's still, finalizing their overall plans and their safety plans and stuff, so.
You heard me.
Yes.
That was you.
Right, right, right. Yeah, right, so.
So if you remember a few years ago, really 2019, 2020, 2021, we were out installing smart meters after we had built the system for AMI, advanced metering infrastructure. And that's where meters now can communicate remotely through collectors and back to us and have much more granular data. Before, we would have a meter reading once every other month as the meter readers went out through the neighborhoods, collect that information. Now we get it daily back to us and in 15-minute increments. So there's many more opportunities. We had lots of projects that were AMI-enabled capabilities, and whether that was a remote turn-on for a customer that was moving in or moving out, or things like time of day rates that are now possible because that was installed. It was a big project. I'm sure you're familiar with if you were around during that time period. And this is just one of many benefits of having laid that foundation.
I think people were worried you were going to use those meters to cut their power off during certain times.
That's not the intention. So there's a lot of benefits, both safety, emissions-wise. The meter readers don't have to be going
Yeah, we're
around
currently
the
going
island.
through that process with our water district, so.
So okay. So let's see if I can get this to work. This is a subset of this, but there is a video that I'd love to show you if I can get it to click on here. I don't have a pointer. Oops. If you go back, do you have an actual computer? Yeah, a mouse? You want to go back a slide? Go back one. And then if you see in gray, it's hard to see, right next to the word rates. Can you try clicking on that?
Oh, it says video on the
video.
screen.
You
want the video?
Yes, there you go. And,
Oh, it probably won't play it on our system. No.
Oh, okay. So we have a great video that you can see on our website, and through the communications that you received, such as these, they're all linked to our website, and some of the videos directly in the emails if you have an email with us. Instead of that, I will walk you through it without the really nice polished way to see it in a couple of minutes. But traditionally, I'll say, prior to time of day becoming our standard rate, most customers in the United States these days, including here on Long Island, are on what we had referred to as rate 180, a flat rate. It changed seasonally, just like time of day rates also will change seasonally. But it didn't matter what time of the day or what day of the week you were using your electricity. It was the same price per kWh during the summer. There was a tier. It went up after you exceeded, like 250 kilowatt hours. But most of our customers were on that rate. So it didn't matter when you used electricity from a cost standpoint, impact standpoint. It still benefit the environment if you, and the costs if you use it. But it didn't matter, flat rate. So now we're moving to time of day rates. So what are time of day rates? They charge different prices for both the delivery and the power supply, depending upon that time of the day and the day of the week. There are lower prices when electricity is used what we call off-peak, outside of the peak period, or higher prices during the peak, 3 to 7 p.m. And most of the time is off-peak. 20 hours, you can take advantage of discounted electricity savings in the off-peak, or even higher, more of a discount in the super off-peak, the overnight period time. All weekends and holidays are off-peak or super off-peak if you're on one of those two rates. And we offer two versions of a time of day rate. Our standard rate that all new customers go on when they start up a new account, whether that's from a move in, move out, or brand new building. Residential, again, this is a residential program right now that we're talking about. I might not clarify that for residential customers. It's a two period rate, 3 to 7 p.m. peak, and 7 p.m. 7 p.m. the rest of the day, overnight, and through the morning and day is all the same price off peak.
Brian, is there another screen to advance?
Oh, sorry.
There it is.
We're all looking at the paper in the room, so appreciate the
Oh, good.
prompt.
Thank you.
Yes. So our time of day off-peak rate, the 194 was that 2-period rate, and the 195, our 3-period rate, is the super off-peak rate. Their prices are a little bit higher in peak and off-peak, but you get the 40% discount almost, or even more, depends on very slightly, but about 40% discount overnight. And we'll talk a little bit about how customers could take advantage of that. So time of day rates, while it's become the standard rate, which means that by default, customers get put on this rate, and we're also going to go through a process of migration, having everyone try out this rate, as I'm going to talk about in a little bit. It's not mandatory. No customer has to be on a time of day rate. They've got choices. So whatever their household is eligible for, it could be multiple rates based on their household. You see there's 2 time of day different options right now. They can choose the best rate on their life based on their lifestyle and their needs and what they'd like to do with their time and effort and energy and what their family needs and their conditions are. So customers can, however, benefit from shifting away from the high cost peak times and trying to do and use electricity, their major source of electricity, not all electricity, major sources, during the off-peak and super off-peak discount times. So what are some of those key things when I'm saying, well, what am I looking at when you're looking at do off-peak? It's the simple things. It's the set and forget things for the most part that are the biggest users of electricity and save you the most money because they are the biggest users of electricity. Just avoid between those few hours between 3 and 7 p.m. on the weekdays. And remember, what that comes out to when you look at it annually, including weekends, federal holidays, 88% of the hours all year long are off-peak or super off-peak hours. So you're talking about 12% of the hours to avoid during the year. In the summer, you could do what we call is pre-cool your home, make it a little bit colder starting at about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2, 3, 4 degrees, whatever you're comfortable with, making it cooler in your house. And then when it gets to peak, you raise that up above your normal set point that you're comfortable at. And what happens is slowly over that peak time, over those 4 hours in the peak, temperatures will raise to that point and shouldn't go much above that point to stay comfortable. But it's a way to save money. You're using the discount 3 hours before to just go a little bit higher than you would have, not shut off your electricity. And then the same thing, go again, 2, 3, 4 degrees higher setting of your air conditioning during that peak period. And then when you get to 7 o'clock off peak, you can pull back down again to whatever degree you're comfortable. Reset to your normal temperature. Electric vehicles, some of the highest users and draw of demand, charging them overnight. Again, you can program that in an app, you can program that in the vehicle for these vehicles, saying them start charging at 10 or 11 o'clock and be done by 6 o'clock in the morning. And if you have a level 2 charger, which is that specialized installation in a home, almost all vehicles can get a full charge from a level 2 charger. And if it's one of the what we call level 1, it's just a normal plug in. Depends on how much, again, you're using and if that would fully charge you. But either way, you still have 20 other hours during the day to take advantage of not causing the extra cost during peak and discount rates. Pool pumps are a really easy one. Most pool pumps, again, you have to check your installer, your manufacturer. They only need to run on high about 8 hours a day. So if you don't have a heat pump heater, you can run those all overnight. And if you like to have it on when you're in, you can flip it on when you're in. Don't stress over it. You can use some electricity during peak. Other things will be on. Or if you do have an electric heat pump to heat your pool, you can split the time. My parents actually do this. They're saving a lot of money.
Stop at 3 and then pick up again at 7.
Exactly.
That's what I do.
That's interesting.
But you can, from like noon till 3, you can be running those extra 4 hours. So they kind of do half at night, half during the day. Get it warm to a point if you're going to go in by 3 o'clock. And then, water changes temperature fairly slowly, so it's good. You get
and especially that time of day too. That's the highest sun day. So I have mine at 3 o'clock, go down to really low, and then at 7 o'clock come back up. So it's always on, but it's just comes at a slower speed.
Is that the heater or the filter or both?
The filter, the whole thing, the whole system, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of combined.
And the biggest thing is don't worry about the small things that aren't going to make a difference. Shutting off your LED lights. If any customers still are on having incandescent bulbs, they can save themselves a ton of money and reduce demand 24 hours or whatever those lights are on. Getting LED bulbs upgraded from incandescent bulbs. So that's number one. That's an energy efficiency message, not a time of day message. But once you have efficient lighting, don't worry about it. You can use your lights whenever you want, as much as you'd like. It's not going to be a big draw difference on your house from a time of day perspective. Those 4 hours aren't going to matter. Same thing for computers, for laptops, for TVs, gaming systems. They're not going to make a huge difference. Things like, that are still good though to shift, which I didn't mention yet, were, again, the things that you could either just hit the run button later or set a delay on, like the dishwasher, the washing machine, the dryer, things like that, that you can just even load at 3, 4, 5 o'clock, press the 2-hour delay, and then you're past your 7 o'clock time, or 3-hour delay. And some are Wi-Fi enabled, and you can program them just as well as your pool pump these days, depending upon how far advanced you are in your technology. But it's these easy changes, the easy savings that we're looking for customers to take this advantage. And if it wasn't as clear in the message connecting things, customers will save directly on their bills themselves, I'll say in the short term, when they shift from peak to off-peak or super off-peak. But then in the longer term, as all of our customers start doing this, the majority of our customers start making these small changes, small incremental changes, it's going to reduce the cost for everybody. So the cost to run the system, to pay for the fuel that goes into the standard rate, regardless of your usage, the cents per kWh will become less as a result of everybody jointly taking action.
So I have another small question. So say just not a big house, but an average house like the average person would have, and their electric bills say $350 a month or $300 a month. How much would they save if they do this?
I'm gonna get to that in part, and I'll tell you why. It depends. Is the answer.
We can wait until you get to it.
But yeah, but it depends because every customer is different. Has a different house with different. How well is it weatherized? Is air leak in and out?
Yeah.
Is their equipment efficient or inefficient? And what actions are they taking? Do they have an electric vehicle, not electric vehicle? Do they have a pool, not a pool? All of these things, what's the size of the home? How many people are in the home? All these things will matter, but there's a way to get insight into that. That's what I'm going to put. How does a customer understand where their starting point is? I'm going to get there in a second.
I'm always in a rush.
So the other big feature of this program as we're rolling it out, we know we want to get all of our customers, most of our residential customers on this rate to try it out. We're giving them the peace of mind, and we're giving them the guarantee. We have a guaranteed bill protection program that is part of this. If you're going to be targeted for migration, targeted from moving from your existing customer, moving from a flat rate to a new rate, or if you're in this migration timeframe over the last 2 years we have been through the end of 25, even new customers will get the same protection to help them learn how. So, yeah, we're still on this slide. Okay, let me get you a little more detail on guaranteed bill protection. To learn how to do this and feel safe. What does that mean? That means if they would have been better on the flat rate as a whole over a 12-month period, or if they left, whether they closed their account or they decided to opt out at the time of day rate, whichever point comes sooner, if they would have been better off on our flat rate, rate 180, they will get the difference in the bill credit on their next bill.
Regardless, will they show you on the bills what you would have paid on a flat rate versus the time of day, or no?
It would not each month. So in the back end, in our system, it is calculated, and a customer service representative, if somebody really wanted to know, can call in and consult at that level of detail. But on the bill, it'll just show you your current, and I'm going to show you some new features in the bill to help.
Which you should technically know about what we're paying, and
yeah, the trick there.
At the end of the year, will you get the differences?
Yeah, well, at the end of the year, if you'll get a bill message. So in our bill message section, if you succeeded, if you were better off on a time of day rate, you tried to shift and save, you did a great job, you'll get a message that tells you that. And at the end of the year, if you were due a credit, there will be a credit on the bill, in the math on the bill, right, in the lines on.
But it'll show you the amount you would have paid at time of day.
It'll tell you that differential.
Okay.
Between 180, and it will credit that differential.
But I mean, even if you're in the plus, if you're doing better on the
No,
time of day, it
no.
won't show you
It won't
how
tell you
much
the
you
amount.
saved.
It'll tell you that. I don't think it tells you the
I
exact
think
amount.
having showing people what they saved is a good.
I could take that recommendation back. But I don't think in the way it's
Because I would want to know, like it would incentivize me to try harder the next year.
If you balance bill, it's hard to. I try to keep track too. It's hard to keep track when you balance bill. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
always constantly rotating.
But that's the idea of guaranteed bill protection. It gives people time to learn through different seasons. People use different equipment, behave differently, if you will, during different seasons. So it covers that whole time period from across the seasons to say, hey, try this out. Nothing to lose. You'll be made whole in the end either way, and you'll be helping everybody reduce their bills as well as yourself if you're successful. So, where's the time of day project right now? If you look from the bottom up, this is a ladder. We've been on a journey. We released these two rates that I talked about, rate 194, 195, off-peak and super off-peak rates, in November of 2023. At that point, it was fully optional for everybody. Anyone could call the call center or go online and log in and select one of those rates. In the end of January of last year, the 194 rate became that standard rate. We talked about that, right? Then we had our first, I'll call it an operational test group that enabled us to really make sure we already did a lot of research before and analysis before, but now we're launching it live to customers. So we went out to people that were going to migrate, move current customers that were moving from their current flat rate, rate 180, to rate 194, the time of day off peak rate, to make sure, based on different segments of customers, that we can see what the responses to the communications, how our systems worked, how that feedback both on and off bill was happening through marketing, personalized marketing communications, things like that. So we went through that and starting the communications starting in March, and then customers moved rates, they got migrated on their billing cycle, whenever they normally close their billing cycle, that's the date the rate changed in June. And we're about to see that our first set of customers hit their full year after June, and their July, the bill we'll receive in July will be representing June and July, depending upon that month. So an exciting time we're coming up to see that full cycle, but we've learned a lot, and we've done continuous improvement things. Refine some of the communications where customers wanted to hear more about one thing or another. Refined our personalized online information, which we're going to get to in a minute. And since January, though, we've been migrating now our customer population. So each month we ramped up in January like 50,000, February 70,000, and now we're at about 90 to 100,000 customers a month. Through this month, well, actually through last month, through May, we're taking a pause for just changing the customer's rate during the summer, because as we talked, the average customer that might not be energy engaged, we don't want them to confuse going on a time of day rate with a high summer bill. It could be an unusually hot summer. Last year we saw higher bills on average than in some of the previous summers because it was hot. They used more electricity overall, air conditioning primarily, maybe more pool time, but then we'll resume those migrations in September through the end of the year, and we at that point should be wrapped up with most of our customers, 95% of the targeted customers. And
so if you got that in the mail, does that mean you've already migrated?
If you've gotten this booklet specifically, yes, this is after migration. You get a welcome packet is what we call it
So I'm
internally.
I'm in it
so
to
you
win
should
it.
be on it. And you can verify that in your
Can I see one of those, please?
But I'm serious, like if you show people right at the end of the year how much they saved, like I think it would incentivize me to be like, all right, I can do better than that next year. You know, like it just makes you feel like you're winning something, you know, or you're doing better, you're saving money, and it to just say you did better and not know how much better you did.
Brian, I thought that when it was Brian, I thought that when you originally came in to
this way. Look this way.
when you originally came in to talk about this, and and then we thought it would be best to present it to the whole board. I was under the impression that there was a way, to Councilwoman McNamara's point, that after the year you could see, what each maybe break down by the month what the changes were saving you.
Yeah, so yes, also, when I get to that same slide I've been talking about, I'll also address that comment. So
Okay.
yes, and so what I've been talking about specifically is bill to bill billing quality. Like if we have the exact amount that you would get billed calculated, and not say that the other isn't an exact amount, but I'll tell you how it's different when I get to our rate comparison tool, which is what I'm referring to. We had talked about the last time I was in. Our shadow billing, which supports that guaranteed bill protection, is for that exact same bill, a billing quality. We manage exceptions. If there's something odd going on with the account, we correct it in the shadow bill. That bill could go out if it needed to as that. That's why it gives us the exact amount of credit down to the sub-cents, which is what we have in our calculations. It's only billed to the cent, but of the exact billing quality level. Whereas the rate comparison tool gets to the cent level, and I'll tell you how it's different in that itself.
I have another question for you. I don't want you probably might address it later. What happens? Like a lot of the homes out here, people summer rent, and they might summer rent the house for 3 months or 2 months. Can they opt in and opt out?
So if
because the people who own the house might be very thrifty with electricity, but the summer tenants might keep the air conditioning down at 65.
So what you can't do is
Change back and forth.
Change back.
That's
So you
what
can
I
always
said,
opt out, but you can change back after 12 months. But
Okay.
yes, a very savvy customer that was trying to take advantage of the system could game it by coming off and on certain times of the year, like they didn't like to be on during the summer, and where we need these activities to be shifted the most away from peak and to off-peak and super off-peak, right? And take advantage of some of the winter discounts that are also there at lower rates.
Yeah.
So there's a rule in place in the tariff
That's
that
what I was
prevents a
asking.
customer from
Yeah.
coming back for 12 months. So they can opt out at any time. You're not locked into it.
But then you're out
Once
for,
you opt out.
Then you can't get back in.
not for a
after-
year.
Yeah,
Now,
not
if
until-
your account goes inactive, that's a
Yeah.
different story. You'll have a new account when you start back up as a new account, and that's right now being offered guaranteed bill protection. This is only being offered guaranteed bill protection while this transition is being made, and as customers are getting migrated, and then they're 12 months after they get migrated. Even for, again, same thing for the new customers, but right now, probably by January of 26, any new customers coming in, both new accounts, as well as customers that opt in that weren't previously on time of day, will not be offered the same guaranteed bill protection. And also, if a customer, like you were describing, came off, waited his 12 months, came back on,
Yeah.
if they had previously received bill protection, they're not going to get a second. They've tried it out. It's there to really help customers learn and feel confident in that learning cycle. Because it could take them even if they were close to succeeding or they only saved a little bit, maybe it took them that year to learn, and then next year they got their habits down now, their new habits, they'll be more successful the following year. So where are we at? We've got 55% of our customers that were targeted, our 180 customers, have been migrated, and they've come in as I've described, new accounts, almost 80,000 customers that said, "Hey, this sounds like a great thing. I'm going to opt in ahead of time," or maybe they're in a rate class, which we'll talk about in a minute, that they weren't going to be migrated, but they have the option to choose this rate. And then the customers, so far we've migrated almost 400,000 customers, and we'll continue to do that now in the second half of the year. This number will go up a little bit because we're still finalizing those numbers, but starting in September again, those numbers will pick up dramatically to, in the end, be somewhere between 800 and 900 or so thousand customers. So the next slide tells you, okay, who's not getting migrated? 95% of our customers are getting migrated because they don't have any special conditions, but there are some customers that will not automatically be migrated, but can voluntarily opt in. Some people that have life support equipment in their homes, we're not going to actively migrate them. We're communicating so that they know there's an option. In many cases, actually more than the average customer across Long Island, life support customers would take advantage. It would be more advantageous because they're running equipment 24/7. When you have that flat load shape yourself, you tend to benefit more than when you spike your own personal usage during the afternoon or evenings or at any time. So They should look at it, but might not be right for them, but we're not going to migrate them. We'll let them make that choice. Same thing for our heating and storage rates. 480, 481, 580, that's electric heating. We will probably be developing a special time of day heat rate to address that. So while a few of those customers may take advantage of the current additional shifts in their usage, we're going to have one that's more appropriate, if you will, for them. That's the plan currently, anyhow, in the future. So we're not encouraging that, but again, if they think they can take advantage of today because of their household conditions, great. Those that were on our pilot rates from 2020, 2021, 2022, we had some rates, I think it was really 21, 22. We had some pilot rates that were late peak, early peak, if you heard those names, short peak, and an overnight rate. Those are closed to new enrollments, but those customers are already doing their great job of shifting energy and saving from peak to taking advantage of discounts and off-peak and super off-peak. Have about 15,000 customers there, again, not big numbers. Those that are in a modeling tool we have, this rate comparison tool that we have access to, we do these forecasted comparisons. If any low-income people that are on our discount rates or D rates are forecasted based on their historic usage, not to save, we're not going to actively migrate them. We know they sometimes have less ability to make choices with what they're doing. So if they're in those kind of non-benefited groups to start with, we're not going to have them try it out. They would still, if they elected to do, again, voluntarily elected, they would still get guaranteed bill protection, but we're not going to make that decision for them, knowing that there's more constraints than the average customer. And then those that are on the highest need, our tier 4 household assistance rate, that's where the state is paying for their bill, and therefore, again, they're in a really challenging position. So we're not going to migrate those customers. So there are a few customers that can't migrate to a time of day rate. It's designed for residential customers, first of all, so any commercial rate codes, commercial customers can't take advantage of this. Residential customers need a smart meter, so if they don't have a smart meter or have sustained communication issues, they either can't go on or would be taken off for a period of time and put back on once those communication issues are resolved, and the team is very actively looking at that.
What do you mean by, because you use the homeowner's Wi-Fi or that?
No, it's our system, but whether it's communication or other meter-related issues,
Some areas.
sometimes things are just not working exactly. It's a few hundred cases out of a million typically that are in that state, but if they have those extended issues that are trying to get resolved.
In Southampton town, do you have any dead areas?
I don't know. Well, in terms of permanently dead, I don't know, and actually just the dead areas, I can't speak to that right now. I don't have that information, but we can get some information from the meter services team to see how many are currently not communicating, but meter services team goes and works with those meters and those routers and all the communication pieces on our system and the AMI system, the advanced metering infrastructure system.
And I think like Optimum now has so much Wi-Fi out there that
it's different than the public or Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
It's not through any customer's Wi-Fi, but yes, there's a lot out there. And then finally, those customers that are choosing their power supply to come from Long Island Choice, Green Choice, Community Choice Aggregation, as we've talked about before, would not be able to qualify. So what are we doing? We've had out digital display ads. We've had video ads. We're going to get out with more mass market communications starting this month, both digital and print. So there is just that general overall, so everyone's starting to learn more, even those that haven't received their personalized communications yet. Sorry. Great video. So please go online, go to our website, check out our YouTube page, time of day rates. There's multiple videos. Not only are there the overview, but specialized ones on how to do each of the things that we talked about, the shift and saved opportunities in your home. There's direct customer communications. We're sending out 120 days roughly in advance, 4 months roughly in advance, an awareness email if we have your email. So that's only for those that we have email. Over half of our customers, we have their email. we're sending both mail, direct mail, and emails, personalized to customers, 90, 60, and 30 days before their migration, including FAQs. We're sending a welcome kit that you all have received here afterwards. And there's a nurture, what we call nurture series of communications, educational things post-migration. I think 4 or 5 different emails that go out now. In addition to winding up also in regular segments of our regular communications, like our electronic newsletter we have was highlighted this month, Time of Day. So for Time of Day. What else? I talked about our website multiple times. There's rate information out there. There's the rate comparison tool, which I'll get into slide next. The tips for customers, articles, if you will, on how to do these things. Lots of FAQs. And the other thing in all those communications on the last slide, and in some of the other digital ads we have, especially the personalized ones, they have what we're calling personalized one-click links. So a customer, if they got their 90-day letter and they were like, this sounds great, I want to opt in right now, they can either scan a QR code or in an email, if they can receive the email, they can click on a link. And without having to log in to their My Account, it's encrypted, they can make their decision right there. For those that aren't technically savvy, in the 60-day, we have a tear-off postcard. Say customer didn't want to participate. There's an opt-out postcard, and even people have been writing, in some cases, opting in early using that postcard. They just handwrite it over the ones that say have opt-out options. But we're addressing both our digitally savvy customers and our traditional communication customers, both from receiving, them getting the information they need, as well as the information that's coming back to us. They've got multiple opportunities. Calling the call center, we don't encourage that unless they really have a personalized reason to understand something more than the materials they're getting, or they're available in self-serve online. But lots of very knowledgeable, highly trained customer service representatives on this program as well. So what are some of those tools online? So in either the app or the My Account, what we have is what we call the rate comparison tool. This uses it's behind the login, so a customer logs into their My Account or on their own app, and this is where they're going to find, using the exact year's worth of 15-minute increment data, that AMI data I talked about. We're going to model using their exact prior 12 months bills of usage, and model that on the current rates. So in January each year, the values of our rates, the charge and changes, and each month the power supply changes. That's the delivery changes each year annually. The power supply changes on a monthly basis. For a rolling 12 months, we'll use those actual charges based on the on the current rate and the past 12 months of usage. So here's where I was describing before. As you check back your rate comparison tool, which all customers have that have a My Account, they can see after 6 months, they can start seeing their progress, which is the best rate and how much that difference is. By 12 months, you've got your full 12 months, your full year of shifting and saving to see how much better off you'd be as you continue this moving forward. So it's not for a historic bill for bill comparison, but it's using, again, their actual usage when they shifted their energy usage. And if they kept doing that, basically, it's really a future-looking plan because it enables you to choose your rate if you want to make a change. And it's all self-serve. You can do it right there in the app. You can select to stay on the rate. You can select to choose a different eligible rate. You can opt out ahead of migration. If you are a customer that's been targeted for migration, you can choose to opt out right there in the app. But it's a really great tool. If you're customers, I would encourage you to check it out. Really easy to use, especially on the app. Any questions on that? That answer the questions that you had? That's how customers can see. And then on the next slide in the bill, there's more tabular data, which I didn't pull in here, but there's more graphical data too, to really highlight when are you using your electricity, off-peak, peak, super off-peak, how much in terms of your usage, what that distribution is of the hours. And the great thing about that table at the bottom you can see is it really shows you your portion that you're using and then how much that use is costing you. It's really clear that you can use, three
Wow.
times as much in the super off-peak period, right? In this specific example.
That's a big cost.
Versus 20% of your usage during peak is costing you 41%. So customers can track each month how they're doing compared to their last bills the previous year, and they can see it visually as well. And then with the data, again, there's tabular data here too.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the actual cost per kilowatt is like crazy.
It becomes a game to see how much you can move to off peak.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I go,
Yeah.
97%, yes.
And so we can talk for days and hours on hours and days and all kinds of things, but this I think gives you a good foundation for the background of why we're doing this, what options are available, how customers could take advantage of it, and some of the tools we have in place to help them succeed.
Outside of this, I would actually like to have maybe a follow-up conversation or something on, I know we have, like, our sustainability committee is making a big push to move towards electrification, as far as our code, and for me, I feel like if the power supply is not there and it's not renewable, right, then what are you really achieving by moving more of your things to electric? The question I have is, we need to make sure before we do any codes of that nature, you look at these peak usage hours, and if you're asking everybody to shift towards electric cars and electric heat pumps and, a lot of this electrification, is the grid there? I mean, we need to know, as far as our codes, before we enact codes saying, okay, we're going to move you towards electric heat pumps, or we're going to incentivize you to buy electric cars, like, where is the grid out here and how can it sustain that? And then, I guess that would have to come with another piece, like you would have to add it. It would have to be basically backed up with either solar on your home or a way to offset that extra usage from the grid. And I mean, is there a limit to how much solar you can even put on the grid?
It's technically, yes, because it's limited to how much can go into a substation. But that's not really, solar is not really an issue, especially home solar. But we have usage projections going out, 10 years. So we see growth in the East End, 2-3% every year going up, and we're the grid's being, enhanced to accommodate that load.
I mean, we see a lot more. I mean, just driving around, you notice, like in the summer, there's a lot more electric vehicles on the road out here this time of year, and that's got to be a huge demand.
It's a big part of our programs. We're helping support that with our Make Ready EV Make Ready program, and our power markets team has been forecasting these this shift towards electric vehicles and all the other beneficial electrification. Heat pumps, whole house heat pumps is a very big thing as well, and it really helps cost overall for customers. It helps the environment tremendously. It's not requiring generation, becoming more efficient sources of. It's shifting it from oil and gas, which emit more, to these much more efficient power plants, and the more we can take off these few peaker plants and shave those off. This is where battery storage also is going to be part of the equation. Right place, right size, right time, all of those things, because especially wind is a good example of something that's less predictable. I mean, it does have patterns, but it is less predictable, and if it can be generating in a period that may be low demand but can be used when you have storage, that enables you to save that for when you need it, say during those peak times. But I think the power markets team, as we suggest, might be a really good follow-up meeting.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I mean, we were looking at community choice aggregation, and for us, choosing people's electric rate and setting them on a rate as a legislator is not something I felt comfortable doing. So I like that this is giving people the opportunity to control their rates and make their savings in ways that work for them. So I mean, I'm trying it out apparently, so I'll let you know when I hear how it is.
When I get my bill every month, I look at it very closely.
I mean, I think
very
seeing
curious
that
to see
is
when
really
I use things, when I don't use things, and how I can move it around.
Yeah.
It's almost become a game, and I've been on it since the first starting.
Yeah.
I still look at my bill. So beforehand, I never looked at it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, it is what it is. The rate's the rate. But now I'm like,
There's a lot of,
I'm committed.
there's a tremendous amount of wasted electricity out here. Tremendous.
Oh, there's giant AC units running, and there's nobody in a 10,000 square foot house. You know what I mean? Like it's just.
But all that's all that is in the peak load, right? So that's already accommodated for. So all these projects.
I'm just saying, if you could get those people to just shut off their ACs
Right.
from 3 to 7
3
when
to
they're
7,
not
right
there.
And they will see.
Would be a huge change.
They either have energy managers because they're not personally looking at their bills and their online account.
They don't care.
They'll see the difference that they can have. And the bigger you are with some of those really big loads, like huge pools, huge air conditioning systems, programming those to do that pre-cooling, again, maintains your comfort, but it just adjusts it slightly will save them lots of money in terms of individual dollars.
So Brian and Bill, it sounds as though right now you're in a period of testing this out, and that at some point you're going to people will automatically be migrated with the few exceptions that you mentioned.
I'm sorry.
Is that accurate?
No, no. I'm sorry if that was missed in some of this or maybe this slide, whichever one you want to look at. But back last June, we had a pilot group, if you will, an operational test group of about 30,000. Starting in January of this year, where we started, we've been migrating almost 100,000, 90 to 100,000 customers we built up in the first couple of months, a month. So we're halfway there. 55% of the targeted migration population there. We're pausing during the summer, and then we're picking back up in September, October, November, December, and then we will have our entire target population communicated to and migrated where they wanted to be migrated and did not that.
And people can.
So you've already started this migration in Southampton town in January?
So no, so
I didn't think that was accurate.
Sorry. I keep thinking island-wide. I apologize. These numbers are all island-wide. We held off including customers in these migration groups from the town of Southampton because we knew you might have decided to implement the CCA. And so we
just assume when I ask a question, it's just strictly related to Southampton town.
Yeah, I apologize for that, and it makes sense. I understand that. So we had not targeted them for migration. Some customers may be on either they opted in or they moved into the area. So new customers in the town of Southampton.
Well, I just got added.
This is their standard rate. Well, so yeah. So then once we heard that we weren't moving forward, we started to include customers in the migration groups. Most of them won't happen until that September, October, November, December set of groups. There could be a few that are in there, but most of them not been migrated, and they were held until that's why we wanted to meet with you. Said we've been kind of holding off. If you're going to go this way, we don't want to confuse customers. We didn't want that. We didn't want to switch their rate and then you switch their rate again. We just want a good joint experience here. So
the 500,000 number is pretty much excluding Southampton.
Yes, mostly.
So this is going to happen this fall. It's not you don't need a board resolution. This is something that PSE&G is planning to do.
Correct. This is something we are doing island-wide. We wanted to, again, knowing what you might have done just for the town of Southampton with the CCA, we wanted to let you make your decisions to the point where we had to make a decision. Either you were going that direction, so we didn't get a letter from you saying you were going in that direction, even if it hadn't happened yet. So please don't migrate these customers, or the fact that no, we're not doing that thing that's incompatible with time of day rates. So therefore, they just become like every other customer. So they now your constituents are just like every other customer, your residents. Sorry, and I do have a breakdown from the first time we were here. I'm just trying to see if I have it by rate. Residential. Oh, I can't even see it. It's so small. But yeah, rate 180. It was like 26,000 customers that are on a rate 180 in total. I think that were not at that point a couple months ago migrated. So most of your customers. or on a.
So when somebody is on there now, when the town is fully migrated by PSEG into the program, and if there are people that want to opt out, they have that option. Would they be able to go back to their 180?
Yeah.
Program?
Yeah, their communications, their personalized communications, the 90, 60, and 30 all state that. The website information states that. The rate comparison tool will be there so that they don't even have to call in. They can just choose themselves to go back and opt out. They can opt out ahead of that migration, or they can opt out after they've tried it out and decide it's not the right solution for them. So yeah, this, again, not mandatory, big message here. It's choice. We're having everybody try it out. We have the other thing here on the next slide. I can point out that I didn't highlight. So far, half of our customers are on a 98% retention rate. So only 2% of our customers so far, they're all in their first year, or most of them are in their first year. Some opted in early, so they've already completed.
Well, I think
the year.
why would you opt out if you know that you're going to get it credited if you're over?
So we'll see what happens.
That's when I got to that point in the thing, I kind of closed the book and moved on.
Yeah. That's by the numbers what they had, people who opted and opt out with the other what it was called CCA.
Yeah, and we do expect a few more customers to opt out over time as they've done what they could do, and if they're still not being successful for their household and what they could do, they may opt out at that point in time.
Yeah, but that rate comparison tool is a great feature. I'm interested in playing around with it myself and see how that's going to change the billing.
Absolutely.
And it'll, it's just a matter of people's behaviors. You just have to give it some thought. Run the dishwasher at night, run the pool pump if you have a pool at night, and laundry at night, just off-peak hours. And it could make a big difference.
Yeah. And it's the big things. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Well, I didn't really have any other questions about this. Does anybody else on the board have any questions?
Nope.
Want to get home and go on my account and see what's going on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there.
On
the main page, actually, was a link to the rate comparison tool. Right.
On an unrelated matter, we had the North Sea Community Solar Project completed, and we were able to get over 500 residents subscribed. And I'm just wondering, you may not know, right now off the top of your head, but when will they start to be getting their credits to their electric bills?
John emailed me. I'm working on it.
And can they do this and that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
I will let you know as soon as I know. I actually got an email I think this morning from somebody from over there, so I'll let you know.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and for the great questions you all had. There's a lot to it, so appreciate that.
Very thorough.
discussion.
Thank you.
Any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Very much. Right on time. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, Ron.
Thank you.
Bill.
Hey, that'll be very interesting. See how that works out. So that brings us to the supervisor, town council member liaison updates. Who wants to get us started? Who started last week?
I don't have anything.
Just a reminder, Battle of the Bands this Saturday, the 22nd annual at 7 p.m. Great night to get out, see the kids. It's supposed to be a nice weekend. So let's get out and support the younger generation.
Is it at Ponquag?
Yeah, it's at Ponquag Beach.
Oh, yeah. Michael said he's judging.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, good. All right. Well, I didn't have anything either other than just recuperating at home. So I'm glad this worked out well, I thought. We'll do it again next time. Yeah. Okay. Well, we don't have an executive session, so I move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And